Hey guys, it's Meredith with Pop Vintage and Home. Today I'm gonna flip through my personal journal with you. I haven't done a journal flip through in a while. I've been doing a lot of haul videos, and so I figured it was time to do a flip through. This journal, I created it back at the end of December 2024, and I finished writing in it and keeping stuff in it in May of this year, so just a couple months ago. As you can see, I made it from a vintage book. This was a book about the My Fair Lady movie, which I absolutely loved when I was in high school, because when I was in high school, I got into Audrey Hepburn. I made a flexible spine out of wallpaper, and you can see I have a lot of trouble sewing in signatures. My signatures are always, they always come out loose. I can never get them nice and taut. I don't have any embellishments on the back of the journal, and I may still do something here. This feels very bare to me, and I really don't like the Warner Brothers symbol, so I gotta do something even though I'm kind of technically finished with this journal. On the bottom right corner, you can see I added a sweet little yo-yo, and this yo-yo was given to me in Happy Mail by Tracy at Tracing Dreams. Check out her channel. She has awesome hauls, and she also has a wonderful Etsy shop with great junk journal supplies at very, very good prices. When I open this journal, you're gonna see I'm having some trouble with the binding. This here is this glitter. It's a washi tape that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I think I'm just gonna have to reinforce it with some strong glue so that it sticks to the book cover and the wallpaper. I did not do anything on the inside cover because I just loved these pen and ink illustrations of Audrey Hepburn and Rex Harrison. I thought about doing a pocket here. I thought about doing a pocket with lace, which you can sort of see through, but in the end I decided to just keep it as is. The first page is, it's just a little page. This is made from cardstock from a paper pack. Since I had started, I think I started writing this right around the new year, I found this New Year's song from the same paper pack. I made a little kind of folio here and a pocket. And inside the little folio, I've got some writing. I've got a Betty Crocker cake mix ad. I've got some other old magazine ephemera that captures all the housework I was doing at the time. And then just paper I wrote on. I don't know what I did here. I guess I just glued down this piece of vintage gift wrap. In the back, in this little pocket, this is a super fun little journaling card that I had made a while ago, long before I made this journal. This is an illustration from a children's storybook from a Red Riding Hood story, and I just love the bright ribbon at the top of the tag. Little journaling card here, and then this was a page from a vintage diary that I picked up at an estate sale, and so I thought it would be fun to include someone's journal entry from January 1st. I forget what year this was, but you can see it's written in fountain pen, so it's really old. On this side, I made this pocket here. This is a die cut invitation. I got this at Paper Source, and I put this die cut on top of it. Also purchased at Paper Source a while back. I could never figure out what to put here in the center. Just nothing ever struck me as quite right. But I loved putting this little fussy cut lady here. She came out of a vintage airline ad. And in here I just have some gift wrap from Hanukkah, because Hanukkah was still going on last December 31st and January 1st. I've got a doily. And here I wanted to include the first page of the book. I trimmed it out with this beautiful crocheted vintage crochet trim. On this side, I just had a little planner sheet, Hello Kitty planner sheet. I taped it in with my homemade fabric washi tape. Underneath it, I journaled on the other side of it, and underneath it, I took a piece of a junk mail envelope and I embellished it. I painted it with this Dayglow pink paint, and then used various paper scraps on it, and then put some journaling cards and tags on the inside. This is an old photo of one of my kids, really old photo, and this is a fun journaling card I made. I wrote on the back of it. I have some extra long rickrack here. She's a sewing pattern lady. This is my homemade fabric washi tape, and this is vintage wallpaper. A book page. This is beautiful crocheted vintage trim. Meg sent some of this to me in Happy Mail, and I also bought some of it from an Etsy shop. I can't remember the name of the shop. It's Hobby something. If I think of it, I'll put it in the description box for this video. On the other side is just a beautiful book page illustration from Sleeping Beauty, and I trimmed it out with more vintage trim, vintage ribbon, and I made this little cluster with a doily, a piece of vintage trim, and a vintage crocheted heart. This page here is actually some cream colored resume paper that I covered up with vintage wallpaper. And this is a strip of vintage wallpaper, and this is paper from a paper pack. I think it's the Echo Park paper, handmade with love. And I made a little pocket out of an illustration from the same story book that I got this page. And I tucked this vintage playing card in the pocket along with this beautiful vintage postcard. I journaled on it. This is vintage stationery I got at an estate sale that I journaled on. I absolutely love this journal. As you can see, I had a lot of fun decorating it and embellishing it and writing in it. So this page, I just did some collaging here. This was something I cut out from a Lucky magazine years ago. I don't know if anyone remembers Lucky magazine. It was the magazine about shopping, and it was popular in the early 2000s, and I just loved this outfit, very 60s inspired, the pink pea coat and the sheath dress and the dark black tights. So after all these years, I finally glued it down in a journal, and then I made, whoopsie, it just came apart, but I made this little garland out of paper punches and some neon neon thread, and I just taped it in with some washi tape. And this is an idea I got from Meg at Chasing Retro. This is just a little envelope I sewed in. I had purchased some washi tape from an Etsy shop. I put a journaling card in here that I just made out of a index card and embellished it with the vintage wallpaper and rickrack. And this is the store, I think, where I got the washi tape. And on the back of the envelope, I remember not really knowing what to do, how to embellish the back of the envelope. So I just used scraps of paper, put down some words, and this was from a vintage ad for maxi pads. This next page is children's birthday gift wrap, and I put this in here specifically for my birthday, which is in January. And on the other side, I had a while before I even put the journal together, I had made this envelope out of music paper, and so it's like kind of a big, I don't know if you'd call it a document style envelope or a bank envelope. And I made a pocket here out of some very, very old ledger that I got at an estate sale. It's from 1897, and it's written in Swedish. And I just tucked some random stuff in here. This was in the beginning of December. I went to Seattle on a work trip, and I went to this vintage store. It was awesome. I got new sneakers from Incas. They're super cute, but very uncomfortable. I would not recommend them. And then this is what I was feeling like on that day. I just felt this picture of the woman who was shouting and feeling like her head was coming apart, captured where I was at that moment. Okay, so Kool-Aid dyed paper embellished with vintage lace. Snoopy Kersey Red Baron was speaking to me at the time, and then I added this very pretty vintage bridge tally. This is just something I fussy cut from a children's book. I just needed something to break up all the text on the page. Vintage book pages from, I think this is the Fuzzy Duckling. I just love the illustrations and the colors in this book. This right here is a painting that my daughter did at daycare when she was really, really little. Just love the colors, and so I wanted to put it in there. I taped it in with this tape I got at Michael's. Here is a giant journaling card I made with a very old ad on cardstock, and I just trimmed it out with this antique lace trim. And this is coffee dyed paper right here, and I used this wonderful sewing pattern envelope as an envelope. And let's see, what do I have in here for journaling cards? So here's one I made with the lace trim, a lady vacuuming, and I love this one too. The pink toilet and the woman cleaning the floors around her toilet, and this really beautiful ornate flower arrangement. So on the weekends, I spend a lot of time cleaning my house, so I do a lot of ephemera that is related to housework. Oh, okay. Now I did what do you call these? Like a fly out? Is that what you call them? I don't remember, but this is just a piece of Tim Holtz cardstock, and the illustration on this side is all about work and being tired and stressed out from work. This was when I was in my old job, which was one of my least favorite jobs, and I love this. This is an old cartoon from the Saturday Evening Post, and it spoke to me because this poor guy is just, things are coming in, he's sending them back out, and they're coming back into him. It's like this Sisyphean work cycle of work that never ends. Okay. I took my family, my husband, my kids, my mom, my dad, and my brother, and my aunt out to dinner to celebrate my birthday. This was packaging from soap that a friend gave to me for my birthday. I made a little journaling card right here with a vintage Renews It ad from the 1970s. And I made a little envelope here, and I put a baby tooth in here, one of my kids' baby teeth in there. Okay, this is just a vintage napkin. As you can see, put it in here because it's birthday themed. Here's the other side of the envelope. I remember being at a loss for how to embellish the envelope, just not knowing what to put on here. And I just like the way it ended up. This was like an old Admiral TV ad. Then I just took scraps of vintage wallpaper, made them the background. This is washi tape. This is a sweet little card my daughter made for me for my birthday. So I stuck that in the envelope. And this is a really great antique store, antique mall in Worcester that we went to. And this is a sports card Pokemon store near where my brother lives in Worcester. So that was just some of our birthday weekend fun. This is the birthday card my son made for me. And this was a card from my husband. These are cards from my mom and my aunt and my brother. This was some of the gift wrap my husband used on my gift. Oh, and here's I printed out a Polaroid of us at my birthday dinner. And let's see, this is just a digital printable. This was from a work trip to North Carolina. I got these on the plane, and they were really, really yummy pretzel sticks. Actually, this work trip took place on my actual birthday. I had to travel on my actual birthday, but I got to see some friends in North Carolina, which was awesome. And they took me out to this taco place, Bar Taco, and it was really yummy. So here's just another storybook page. I loved the colors, and I just created a little journaling spot here. This is Tim Holtz wallpaper, and this is just a plain piece of pink cardstock. And I made a little shaker card out of an old CD-ROM envelope. Fun. And here's one of the pages from the My Fair Lady book. And here is the last page of the first signature. Made a little pocket here, journaling papers, and I've got some old pictures of my kids here. I gotta fix her. They're so cute. And these Peanuts cards I got at one of the vintage stores in Seattle. I just love them. So I got Lucy and Linus. And let me see how we're doing on time. It's 12 minutes. Let's see. I am just wondering if I want to do this journal in 2 parts or 3 parts. I think I'll keep going. It's only been 12 minutes. Okay. So I think I tried to start all the signatures with a vintage doily. This one, I just loved this vintage card, so I put it in here. I made a pocket on the inside and a pretty journaling tag, journal tag. This is Tim Holtz wallpaper on plain pink cardstock, vintage gold trim, vintage gold ribbon. That's Elizabeth Taylor, a very young Elizabeth Taylor. And this is a beautiful, pretty little applique. I think Meg at Chasing Retro sent that to me in Happy Mail. Didn't do any journaling on the back, but put some Tim Holtz ephemera there. It's just pretty. It's just fun. So this is me. This is my capability when I am at my most creative and inspired, which unfortunately is not often. And I just put some trim. You can see I put some satin ribbon to add a little something to the pocket. This piece of paper right here is very, very, very old stationery. This was my mother's stationery from when she was first married, and I just punched it with an edge punch. Another one of the Hello Kitty planners, and I put a little fabric tab on it with some vintage fabric. This is a page dedicated to one of my kids and his band performance at school. He plays the trumpet. And this is just a pretty journaling card. Okay, this was something like a manifesto I wrote for myself. This was around the time I was leaving my previous job, which was really awful, and about to start a new one. So I just wrote I needed a pep talk. So I gave myself a little pep talk and wrote a little manifesto. So that's what that is. I did another vintage sewing pattern pocket on this page. This is just blue copy paper. And let's see, what have I gotten here? I don't even remember. Ah, this is from Carrie the Paper Monkey. She had sent me Happy Mail. And oh, this is from Carrie as well. She made this. So I tucked in some goodies from Carrie. And then paint chip. I guess I used part of this as a journaling card. I just love the blues. Here's another journaling card I made with a whale tail from Carrie. This was the note from Carrie. And this was the program from my son's little band talent show. Ah, yes, and you can see I did the blues, coordinated the blues here with the blue paper. And I guess I ordered something from Natural Life. I don't remember what it was though. Okay. You can see I was kind of at a loss with this page. Really didn't know what to put. I just trimmed it out with a little lace to cover a staple. Made a little pocket out of this bag with put a little journaling card. We apparently played Clue, so I kept one of the old score sheets and the card. Now this page I love. This is an old paper, a vintage paper placemat. And Carrie sent me this gorgeous vintage fabric in Happy Mail. So I made a pocket out of it. And let's see. This is a tag, a journaling tag with pockets. Carrie had posted a really awesome tutorial on how to make these, and they were so easy. So I made a bunch of these one night. It's, as you can see, a vintage dictionary page. I just trimmed it out with some washi. This is some ephemera I got at the Vintage Market Days, at a Vintage Market Days flea market. Got a journaling card in there. A planner page. This is a digital printable from Johanna Klo, and this was just a to-do list. So I tucked all of that in there. How am I doing on time? 17 minutes. I'm gonna make this a two-parter because I don't know. I guess I'll just do this all in one swoop if I can, and you guys will just watch for as long as you want to watch it. This page I love. This is scrapbook paper. I got it from a paper pad that I bought at Walmart. I love the tangerine lace. I trimmed out the top with some eyelet trim that either Carrie or Meg gave to me in Happy Mail. I tied the bridge tally card to the eyelet. And then this is another Johanna Klo digital printable. I used it as a journaling page. And this is a vintage envelope. Again, this is one of those things where I had a blank envelope. I wasn't sure, really had no idea how I was going to embellish it. And I ended up using a stencil and some distress ink to create the pattern. Then I trimmed it out with washi tape here, 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 a smaller version of the printable, and some vintage trim. And I can't remember if I have anything in the pocket. I do, what do you know? So another one of Johanna Klo's printables. This is beautiful embossed paper that Carrie sent me in Happy Mail. And, oh, this is a note from a junk journal maker. My husband ordered a junk journal for me for Valentine's Day. So this was a note from the maker. Oh, and there's more. Another little journaling. This is coffee dyed paper, a scrap of coffee dyed paper, and I just cut the corners and journaled on it. I love this book page. This is a Richard Scarry illustration. It's a book about colors, and I just loved how the bright primary colors kind of coordinated with the colors on this page. We went to Boston in February, so this is some of the fun stuff we did in Boston. This is a restaurant we love. This restaurant, the Friendly Toast, there are a couple of them in the Boston area. And if you are a vintage and retro enthusiast and lover, as I am, you want to go to the Friendly Toast because it's totally vintage and totally kitsch on the inside. Now on the other side, I did a Valentine's Day spread, just a fun little spread. Doilies, this is crocheted trim, vintage lace, rickrack. This is bright crimson velvet ribbon that I sewed into a ruffle, Snoopy stuff. Brayered paper. This is from our trip to Boston. Lots of journaling about our trip. And I like the way this page came out. When I got to this page, again, I didn't know what I was gonna do, how I was gonna journal on it, and I ended up taking these die cut cardstock invitations from Paper Source, journaled on them. This was just a piece of white cardstock. I cut it out with, you know, with fancy scissors. Very simple altered paper clip. And this is an old ad from like a 1969 magazine for Admiral TVs, and little journaling card. This page I did for a little Israeli family that they were taken captive from their home. They were captured by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. It was the Bibas family, the mom, Shiri, and her two children, Kfir, who is 9 months old, and Ariel, who was like 2 when they were kidnapped. And this was from the day their bodies were found, which was, you know, extremely tragic news, because I, with a lot of other people around the world, had been praying for them to return home to Israel alive, and they didn't. So I just did this little page to commemorate them. This is the last signature. I started it. I just loved this vintage card. Another Hello Kitty planner sheet, journaled on the back of it. I made this, I think I learned how to do this in a video from Paper Terrace. I don't watch her too often, but she has some good tutorials, and I think I learned this from her. You can see as I get to the end, I had a lot of trouble just thinking through the decorations and the embellishments. They're a little lacking, but I made, this is an envelope, a handmade envelope I made a while back, and I just made it into a tuck here. This is a flashcard that Carrie sent me way back when in Happy Mail. I just think it's so cute. My daughter got this crochet kit, a Wooble crochet kit. And I got a little satin ribbon tab here. I really struggled with how to embellish this envelope I made. And in the end, I like what I did. It's all right. And then just journaling pages in here. I embellished this page really, really simply with vintage paper doll clothes. Here's a beautiful book page from the Book of Fairy Tales. I added this vintage trim to it. Tracy at Tracing Dreams sent me this wonderful M charm. A digital printable from Johanna Klo that I journaled on. Vintage trim that I received in Happy Mail. I just took a scrap piece of pink paper, did some stenciling on it with distress ink and wrote on it. This right here is just some awesome vintage stationery that I picked up at an estate sale. And on the other side, this is scrapbook paper, and this is a bunch of, some really fun stuff that Danielle at 11 Dancing Dandelions sent me in Happy Mail. I had fun here. I had bought this washi tape from Etsy, and Danielle sent me this recipe card and this vintage bowling alley note paper and this awesome vintage playing card. So I just had a lot of fun. This is Kool-Aid dyed paper. This is an envelope from Vintage Stationery. This was fun. I don't even know where I got this, but it's old French writing. This is a business card from a vintage store in South Boston that I used to go to like 25 years ago when I lived in South Boston. So cute. I found this in an old pocketbook, and I just decorated it with punched hearts. And these are ladies from vintage magazines that I punched out with a stamp shape punch. Then I am just stenciled the other side with distress ink. Okay, I'm gonna have to pause, I think, soon to take my daughter somewhere, so I might just also try and finish up really quick. So I've got just a beautiful book page here, and this is a printable from Johanna Klo. This was a party invitation that my son received. Brayered paper, book page illustration, and this is the other I connected to vintage envelopes. Just did some stamping here. I got these stamps at an estate sale. I was reading a book on Picasso's last wife and mistress, Françoise Gillot, so I clipped that out. This is just a fun little tag I made with a little pocket, just pretty, just my favorite colors, pinks, blues. You get the picture. So lots of Picasso inspired stuff. And then this is fun. So I made one of those flip pads and did lots of journaling in it. And I just love the way I put that fussy cut hand there. And I just love this paper. This was from a Walmart pad. And then on the inside, I got the ladies. So fun with that. Here is another vintage envelope. Got some journaling in here. Got some journaling cards I made from vintage ads. My daughter drew these. Okay. And oh my goodness, coming to the end, just fun things here. You know, I was really struggling at the end, didn't know what to put down on any page, but I don't know, in the end I made it work. I did another flip pad here with journaling. I loved this picture. This was from an old vintage ad from like 1969. Beautiful book page. This came out of an old book, a vintage book, and it was appropriate because I had gone to an estate sale that day. My last page, almost my last page. Let's see. This is, for all intents and purposes, my last page. I made a pocket here. This was a vintage appliance ad. They're very sophisticated. I think Danielle sent me this postcard in Happy Mail. It's hysterical. Love it. I got this tiny Woodstock playing card at the vintage store in Seattle. This was some ephemera I made a while ago, and I just put it in here and journaled on the back. And let's see, didn't do much here, just clipped out some vintage gift wrap I found, and that's it, you guys. We've come to the end. So that's my personal journal. I've started a new one. I made a new one. I'm working in it now. And at some point, I'll give you guys a peek at that. So thank you so much for sticking with me. If you watched this whole video, you're an absolute champion, and I appreciate it so much. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you have any tips for sewing in tight signatures, do let me know. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.